Sir PJ, I want to know more about what you guys do. What is Titan Management Group all about, and how did that start? And for you, when did you start managing players? Because I've known Titan as the place I get my haircuts from and where I get my shoes. So what's the story behind the management?
Well, the story about Titan, like what I've shared with the guys when I get them on board. We started as a retail basketball only store and a barber shop, and then followed by another piece of the business, which is the publications, which is Slam Philippines. Under that umbrella, for the longest time, what we've wanted was really to bring in a sports management agency. Both Titan and Slam were both introduced to the market in 2010 and 2012. Fast forward in 2015, that's when we felt, it was time for us to build a sports agency. And the guests are a very good combination because Simon was our first pro player. So the story behind the management group, but personally, I've wanted to start it for over a decade from now. But at that time, there were really realizations on how tough it is to start a sports agency. So initially, when I used to work for a corporate company, I wanted to start managing athletes. So I was already involved with so much basketball from an early age because I was already coaching in the Ateneo at the high school level back in 2001. So, and at the same time, like all of us, I mean, our goal was to have basketball as our career, right? But there comes a point in time when you realize, like, oops, I didn't put too much work, or going out and vices got in the way. So there was more like a stumbling block, and then you realize, like, okay, if I still want to be connected to the sport, what are the things that I got to do? You really need to devote 100% of your time. That's when I said, you know what? If I really have to do it, I have to really be committed. So fast forward to what I was sharing earlier, 2015, that was the time. In this case, we were just managing Simon, Enciso, and Tyler Tio. And what we really wanted was to focus on just really a few number of athletes, just to make sure that we got to do it right. And even at that time, and even until now, it's really only a handful of agencies or individuals running a sports agency in the market. Because believe it or not, even if the league has been here in the Philippines for 40 years, there's just still so much things that the league or even the sport has to come across for sports management to get to a level where they are overseas, let's say in EuroLeague or even in the NBA.
And you talked about the overseas part, and you're a FIBA accredited sports agent right now.
Yes, we're FIBA licensed.
Yeah, I want to talk about how do you get that accreditation, and what does it mean to have that title?
It all started mid of last year. We wanted to manage at the local level here in the PBA. The only thing that you need, it's really basic. It's just to apply and be accredited by the PBA. That's it. What I wanted to do was really to have legal title to handle athletes, because the team is growing. From the time at 2015, we only had 2. We now have 24. I wanted to make sure that we were backed up by something concrete, which is the FIBA accreditation. So I did the legwork. I checked sites like everybody does. I checked Google. And then they had a FIBA license application test. Good thing was the headquarters for FIBA is in Geneva, in Switzerland. So I was like, if I'm going to go to Geneva for a couple of days or 3 days, then you know what? It might not be as worth it. But luckily, there was a test happening last year in Singapore. So I applied for it. And then I studied, able to realize that there was so much reading involved for people to understand. To become a sports agent, you need to have legal background. So lawyers, and you'd see overseas, a lot of the lawyers are agents. So I was a little scared because I was telling the guys, the last time I took a written test was 20 years ago, man. So I was like, man, how can I BS my way around this without me studying? So there's so much pressure wherein, I can't mess this up. So from April until June, I was studying, man. The night before the test, I was literally, I was up until like 3 a.m. just making sure, because there's so many laws. So the book that I printed was really thick, like this thick. So I just wanted to make sure I don't just memorize it, but understand it, because there's just so many legal matters that, I might end up not, understanding. So fortunately, the following day I had the test. I had a test with 3 other guys, one from Australia, one from Japan, and one from Germany. So the 4 of us took the test. The test was like for an hour and a half, like a 25 question questionnaire. And then there was an oral test. And then 30 minutes later, the results came out. Fortunately, I think I got 21 out of 25. So I was really, really happy, man. I was so happy because, like what I said, a lot of people knew I was taking the test. So I didn't want to go back and say, hey, how was the test? And then I would end up saying, I'll just take it again next year. So fortunately, I had that. And for me, it's a milestone for the team, because it just opens up more opportunity for everyone. We want to open more doors for other athletes, and at the same time break the mold by having players and talents who could play overseas.
George, for you, again, happy birthday. And Sir PJ talked about the opportunities and going international. The last time I saw you play was in Dubai for Mighty Sports and in Indonesia for Gilas. Can you talk a little about that experience and how you see yourself fitting in Gilas in the long run?
I think Mighty was different because it was really my first international pro tournament where they didn't treat us like college players anymore, that you had absolutely all the freedom to do what you wanted. Coach Charles Sitter said, I really don't care what you guys do off the court as long as it's not wrong. And as long as you guys perform, really. We're here to win. So it was interesting for me to finally go up against grown men who are there with the same mission to win. These guys are especially now getting paid to play basketball, and that they knew that their livelihoods was at stake. So there's that pressure that you had to perform. And being on a team with imports such as Andre Blatcher, now the Bulkman, there was really expectation for us to win because we technically had 3 imports. Andre was considered a local. So this was the strongest team that they've made in the past few years. So that was really the pressure on us to perform. And we weren't asked to score 30 points, 20 points. We were just asked to contribute as much as we can, don't make mistakes, hit open shots. And I think that's what I try to translate now with Gilas, because I know that obviously we'll have a naturalized player, we'll have the best talents in the PBA coming in, we'll have the best players, best coaches. And let's be real, not everybody will be asked to score 20 points. Each of us will be given a role, will be able to play defense, hit open shots, and buying into that role, understanding that you have a certain job to do and you have to do it because it could mean the success or not of the team. So I think that's what's going to help me translate. And seeing how I fit in Gilas down the road, I just hope I make the team. I'm just going to work hard, try my best to improve both physically and my skills, and hopefully see myself lined up eventually in 3 years.
Well, yeah, at the start of the year, I was excited for you guys, for Gilas. If I remember correctly, you guys were going to have training abroad, join tournaments and all that. And with everything that's happening now, for you as well, Simon, I guess, have they told you anything about the changes or developments as for your training in the leagues that you're joining right now?
Well, so we get on Zoom calls frequently just to keep in touch with everybody. You know how hard it is to be in quarantine, and I'm away from my family. So we got other, Filipino foreigners on the team who are away from their families back home. So coach does a good job of reaching out and trying to make sure, everybody's mentally okay because of the tough times that we're going through right now. But yeah, just, trying to do my part on the team, reach out to other guys, see how they're doing. We have a Viber group where people post, the workouts that they're doing. So you get to see, what people are doing at home and kind of feed off each other's home workouts. And the coaches, assistant coaches, they'll send, clips of old games to, help the newcomers like me figure out, the defensive schemes and how to position ourselves on offense. And they recently just gave us an app that has all our plays on it. So, and then you could quiz yourself and play games and really get to break down each step of each play. So that really helps out a lot.
For you, George, you're drafted number 1 in the Gilas special draft. But I want to know, how does your contract work? It says that you'll be loaned to Gilas until 2023. How does this affect you and your PBA team?
So with that, basically we're we basically signed with Gilas. So Gilas has our contract, but our PBA team holds our rights. So the best way to describe it would be like when an NBA team drafts a European guy, but the guy is still playing abroad in Europe. So that's the best way to describe it, in the sense that we'll finish our contract with Gilas, and once it's done, we'll return to our mother team, so that we technically don't start from scratch. So at any given point, if we're removed from the program, we have somewhere to go back to. We're not in limbo all that we have to wait for the next PBA draft.
Simon, I want to talk about your journey. A little story. I think it's so cool that Sir PJ actually brought you in today, because apparently I've known of you since 2014, and you know, you're wearing the headband, and I followed the In the Lab series, Simon and Dulani.
Yeah.
You know, shift team.
Shift team.
You were already in the PBA, but I never knew you as Simon Enciso. I just knew you as Simon, but I kept watching. I see your highlights and the games that you've played. And then Coach Devin actually shared a highlight of yours on his Instagram, and I put 2 and 2 together. So I think it's crazy that you're here now and I'm talking to you.
Yeah, man.
You recently talked in a podcast about your journey here. You know, you came here alone and being traded on draft day. My question is, how were you able to grow up quickly and understand how life was going to be here? And on the very first day, having to understand that you're entering a business at the end of the day.
I think just the people I surrounded myself with really helped me put my mindset in the right path, if you can say that. You know, as a Filipino foreigner, you have to go through the D League and, you know, make sure your paperwork is good. So, you know, PJ and Coach Jeff Cariaso helped me out with that side of it, which was like a huge part of me being able to play out here. And just the way I was raised back home in the States was just like, with all the coaches that I've been with, I've always been with tough love coaches, call you every name in the book, tell you how it is, tell you straight up, scream at you, yell at you. You know, you got to find a way to get the job done or perform, right, under those circumstances. So I think I was just used to it, of, you know, being the underdog and, you know, trying to prove to people that I belong in the league. And I've always played with a chip on my shoulder. I've always played like I had to prove something. I don't know if it was based on my height. I mean, I'm pretty tall for Filipino, but in the States, like, I'm always put at a disadvantage because of maybe my race or maybe my height or the way I look, my body type. So I've always had a chip on my shoulder. I always played with that chip on my shoulder because it was comfortable with me. It fed my motivation. It fed that fire that's lit in you. And I always had like that dog in me, to where it's like, I don't care who's on the court, I'm going to go at you. And but I'm going to do it politely. You know what I'm saying? I think I learned that my first couple of years in the league. The basketball culture here is a lot different from the States culture. And as a point guard, trying to be a leader at a young age with guys, veterans that are 14, 13, 12 years in the league, you got to kind of, you know, talk in different, you know, tones and, you know, different approaches. My first year in the league, I had to learn that. And I always tell people that I learned the hard way. I'm a very passionate and emotional player out there. So when stuff happens, I'm very vocal and I'm very upfront because I like to nip things in the bud when it happens. The Filipino culture is a lot different, where they take that as an offense. Kind of, it's a sensitive subject for them. So I had to learn how to, you know, different approaches to it. PJ helped me out, you know, Coach Jeff helped me out. Other Phil-Ams who've been in the league, who are like my big brothers, like Saul, Joshua Bastando, Chris Ross, Jody Vance, Gabe Norwood, all of them have helped me out with a bunch of advice on and off the court. I think, like I said, just the people I was surrounded with really helped me adapt as fast as I did, because I feel like that's the biggest part. And I think, you know, even Isaac, who's lived here and, you know, grew up here and knows the culture, I think there's still a transition from the college level to the pros, to where it's, you know, yes, you're hyped up at, you know, Ateneo, and, you know, you have the skill, you have everything going for you, but there's still a certain type of respect where, okay, I can't approach Kuya Bo Belga like this, or, you know, or I can't talk to Kuya Jason Castro like this. I have to, you know, watch what I say. Not really watch what I say, but, you know, there's a certain type of approach that you have to handle with those guys. And there's a certain respect level that you have to show first for them to, you know, respect you as in a teammate or a player. So you can't just come into the league. And I know Isaac knows this. You can't just come into the league. And I feel like a lot of Phil-Ams do that. They come to the Philippines and they're just like, man, I played D1. I played, you know, I played here, I played there. But, you know, you're not in the States anymore. You're in a whole different country. And the faster you can adapt to the culture and, you know, your teammates, I feel like that's the best way. So the faster I learned Tagalog, the faster I learned, you know, how to approach my teammates was, I think, very beneficial in my success in the league.
And now you're approaching something new again. Just at the start of the year, you got traded to Talk and Text. Now in
Right.
your 5th year in the PBA, I'm sure you want to win a championship, but what role are you looking forward to having on Talk and Text, and what can you expect from you now in the new team?
I mean, it's very early stages. I mean, I've been through this before, so I know how to handle getting traded to a new team and how to approach things. So my thing is like just coming in every day and just, you know, showing the guys that I work hard. I think they know that, and you know, I know a lot. I'm very good friends with a lot of the guys on the team, like R.R. Bogoy, Harvey Carey, Ryan Reyes, Kelly Williams, Jay Washington, Val Chalka. I've had conversations with Jason Castro too, just kind of picking his brain. So everybody's pretty open about sharing advice with me and stuff. So there's no like, doesn't feel like it's a competition between each other. I feel like everybody's just kind of wanting to, I think they all know that it's kind of time for them to win a championship because they were so close the last couple conferences. So it's been great, man. The past 2 or 3 months I've been practicing with them since January. So yeah, it's been pretty good. And I feel like this is the first time that, you know, the coach has really been reaching out to me and kind of building a relationship with me. So it's cool to get to know Coach Mark Dickel and how he runs it. And it's very similar to how stuff would be run in the States. So kind of adapting to it a lot better. But everybody's competing. Everybody comes in early and works. So, you know, it holds me accountable. And I feel like I'm very excited to, you know, start this conference up if it does start in October.
Sir P, after the UAP season, I saw that TMG signed several players to your roster. Like, what's the process of selecting the players that you want for your group, and how do you approach them? Like, how do you handle them as a manager?
Like what I shared with the guys. The
You got to be
initial
bogey, right?
Yes, that's the first category. So that's why Simon and George are on board. But seriously, the process, like what I share with everyone, is really, you know, definitely you got to see talent, right? I mean, we're not gonna beat around the bush. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But the moment I connect with the athletes, it's when we feel that there's a lot of character with the talent. So in the same manner, like with Isaac and Simon, my first meeting with them, my first meeting with Isaac together with his parents, that was the end goal. Not about making it to the league, but building a bigger network for them. First and foremost would be character. Really, it's about potential. So the process is not about having, you know, X number of players in the draft the following year. It's really, you know, finding the ones who are willing to take on this journey with us, and understanding that, you know, it's not just it's not just about things on the court, but a lot of it off court. So, you know, it's not everyone is gonna have the same path. Others are gonna go through, you know, different journeys like the D League or even sometimes the MPBL, and some would have injuries. But it's about, you know, staying solid, not too high, not too low.
Yeah, George, can you talk about the relationship that Sir PG is talking about, and what are some of the ways that they've helped you develop through the years and being part of the TMG family?
I think what a lot of people misconcept is when you have a manager and agent is that his job is just to get you the best contact, or his job is to get you endorsement deals and discuss on your behalf. People don't realize that there's a lot of relationship behind it, that you have to trust your agent or manager to do that, because why would you ask someone to negotiate on your behalf if you don't trust them? So it's really that fundamental rule that you start building trust, you start really building up to that, is that he's helped me grow in terms of extra training, having been able to negotiate some of my contracts and deals for me, that which I couldn't really do because there's a certain level of hiya in a way. When you're a player and you're trying to negotiate on your contract with the boss, a lot of things come into play. It's not like when you have a manager and agent that he does it on your behalf. It eases a lot of stress on you, and it allows you really to focus on playing the sport. You don't have to worry about, okay, I have an endorsement deal on the line, but I can focus on playing, and he'll help me do other stuff. He'll help me manage all of that other extra income. So it really a manager's job is really to help us grow, and Sir P just really done a lot for. I think me and Simon could say a lot about it. That we've grown so much. I've grown a lot in these last 3-4 years, and a lot of it is with help of Sir PJ. And I think that it's gonna be something that I think a lot of people have to understand is that you have to build a relationship with your agent. It's not just always how much am I gonna get? How much can you negotiate on my behalf? That it just comes into business, but you get into more personal stuff, more relationship. You ask about family, friends, girlfriends, other stuff like that. So it's really that growth in relationship that I think helps us grow.
What about you, Simon? Sir PJ mentioned that you were the first pro athlete that they've had. How were you able to, get that, say, trust from them? You couldn't ask any other pro player about their group, so you had to just they convinced you maybe to join them. So how was?
All right. So I was in the D League my first year out here. I played 2 conferences with no agent, nothing, just the guidance of PJ and Coach Jeff that would tell me oh, there's tryouts here, you could try over here. And then once I got on the team, they were like, okay, telling me advice on how to, present myself, handle myself. And so I went through the whole D League without an agent. And once the draft came and I wanted to put myself in the PBA draft, Coach Jeff took me out to dinner with me and another Philam who's from San Francisco as well. He's one of my best friends, named Ali Austria. And he sat us down and we had dinner and he was like, hey, look, I'm not trying to sell you on this. We're just starting up a management group. I'm not trying to sell you on it. You can join us if you want. I'm just presenting it to you. I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to sell this to you. You could go with any agent and won't get mad at you or nothing. But this is what we're doing. And this is kind of, the vision he had for the management group. And for me, it was easy to pick them because, all of the stuff that they did that they didn't have to do for me because there wasn't any contract signed between us, but they're just great guys who, kind of know where I'm coming from. And Coach Jeff knows where I'm from. We're from the same place. So they both kind of just, were like, hey, we'll take care of you. And I kind of grew that trust with them through the D League because they were just helping me out with so much things, like entering, like what Isaac said, there's just so many back things that you don't know that you have to do, like paperwork and, submitting, applications to be in the PBA or PBA D League, like stuff like that you just don't want to deal with because your main focus is to perform under, high pressure situations. So you're asking someone to like me to move out 7,000 miles away from their family to a whole different country that they don't know anything about. Because when I moved out here, it was the first time I've ever stepped foot in the Philippines. The only thing I knew about the Philippines was whatever my mom watched on TFC. So you kind of have to base it on, who you really trust, who's been there for you since the beginning, who's helped you out. So PJ and Coach Jeff were the first guys to really reach out and help me out with my paperwork. So it was an easy pick for me to, run with TMG to kind of help me pave my way through the PBA.
I've seen through social media the events that you guys have held with Titan and Slam. So PJ, you've had the players like Dom Tawson from LSGH and Camille Nolasco from Miriam. Is this something you're trying to build on and like the younger generation? What's your approach for the youth and how do you want to involve them by having them at your events?
The connection there is with our Titan Basketball Academy. So our main goal is really, again, grassroots. Make sure that we're able to connect with the youth. So with Camille and Dom, they've been part of our Deer Valley Titans for some time now. And making sure that it's not just it's really for love of the game. It doesn't remain just a business for us. It's really having that connection with all of the athletes. So we'll continue to build relationships with up and coming athletes, and eventually represent Titan. Just to add to what Isaac and Simon also mentioned earlier. I think a big part of what we're trying to do is the professionalism part, because like what I mentioned, there are only a handful of groups in the country, and a lot of them, they've been just used to doing the administrative stuff. But what we really want to come into play is having that professional outlook, and making sure that these guys are not just focused on basketball. They're also looking at what type of life they would have 5, 10, 15 years after their career.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask about that next. You have
Nice.
Camille Clarin from NU,
Mhm.
and just like, is she your only female athlete right now?
Yes, so far she's our first female TMG athlete.
And like,
So,
what type of career path do you want to create for a player like her? And obviously, you want them to have a successful collegiate career, but what happens after that? There are no established female basketball leagues in the country as of now.
So we continually challenge ourselves. We want to make sure that having that license brings us somewhere. So with Camille being on board, as I think that was just a month ago, we wanna create a path for women's basketball that could eventually land us somewhere in Thailand or China or Korea. But as early as now, we're trying to build that path for her. So hopefully, once her collegiate career is over, we'll be able to present her opportunities. So nothing concrete as to where that would be right now, but as early as February, man, we already started talking to leagues overseas and see what type of opportunities that they could offer for female athletes in the Philippines. So and like what you said, the roadmap for them is so different, because as soon as they finish playing college, some of them we get to play in Taiwan, Thailand, but it's really their own doing. No support or anything at all, and it's very temporary. They would have leagues would only have a 2-month duration, or sometimes even less. So some of them after a year or two, it's just about playing for flag and country. But as a commercial athlete, it's something that they really put on the side already. And believe it or not, man, and I've talked to a lot of other coaches, their talent level is up, is there. They can compete at the high level.
Something I've been wanting to hear from you guys about, especially the players now.
Mm-hmm.
You posted the other day about the social issues that we all know about in the United States and here in the Philippines. I think when it comes to politics or social issues, athletes here tend to stay away from those topics, I think. And why do you think that is? And TMG released the statement that you guys made. More and more athletes are speaking up as well. What are you guys trying to do, and what message do you want to put out there for the other athletes that are afraid to speak up?
I think it's just like you said, like just letting them know that it's okay to speak up. That what's happening in this world today is wrong, and being silent is just as bad as saying something racist. So I think for me, like I've grew up with black people, played with black people, had great teammates, got brothers back home that are black. So, for me, when I post things, I just want to let them know that, I'm not being silent. I'm here for them. Whatever they need me to do, I just want to let them know that I stand with them and I stand for them. So, whether that's reposting something for them, or making a video, or, signing a petition. I've signed a couple petitions back home to, help out with the black community. And even I just signed a petition for this San Jose PD cop who kind of just went berserk at a peaceful protest, shooting people with rubber guns. And he's Asian. His name is Jared Ewan. And, so I signed a petition to kind of get him off the police force. It's just something that, it doesn't always come from white people. It could come from different races, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be silent about it. There's always something you can do, like sign petitions or, get educated about it I feel like that's why some people are silent, because they're not really educated or don't know what to say. Especially me, like I just kind of just go on social media and I see everything, and then, I kind of get educated by, the big bros that, are in the league that are, Black and Filipino, like Gabe Norwood, Chris Ross. Also, some of my draft batches like Rashawn McCartney, Mo Tua, just all those guys will educate me on like what's happening, or, tell me their stand on things. So I think it's just, getting out of your comfort zone. I don't think Filipinos like really getting out of their comfort zone a lot. So I feel like that's why in the Philippines it's kind of hard for people to say stuff or kind of speak up, or other athletes kind of speak up, is because it's just very uncomfortable. They don't like being in uncomfortable situations. But yeah, my thing is, I'm gonna post and not be silent in that way. I'm gonna educate myself, and I'm gonna, make sure all my brothers know that, I stand with them and not against them.
A lot of us are uneducated about it. So I think a lot of Filipinos are more conservative in the sense that we just don't want to shoot stuff out there because mami naman bashers online, maming ganyan. And some people just don't want to deal with those kinds of things. So I think it's just started first with trying to understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. And as athletes, we're given such a platform that we can speak up and make people change their minds or influence people to think a certain way. So we can't just sit back if we know it's wrong. As Simon said, if we just sit back and keep quiet, that means we agree that it is. That means we agree with it, that it's not wrong. It's just the same as doing it. So I think it's just a lot of us are used to just deal with, okay, we'll be resilient. Okay, it's gonna pass. But I think now people are just fed up in the sense that how long are we gonna say that we're gonna deal with it? We're just gonna fight through it. That we want change, we want more. So I think that's why you see a lot of people now speaking up, a lot of athletes taking to the social media, being a lot more active, and they're not just going out there and saying and join that rah-rah fiasco that we're just gonna try our best, let's go. They actually do their research. They're actually smart about how they approach it in such a way that not people understand them, and people aren't gonna judge them for just posting out there. That there's a logic, there's a sense.
I also think like it's also an uncomfortable subject for people, but it's also, we don't experience the same experiences that Black people go through. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there's racism on Asians, and you get called names and stuff like that. But how many times do you see a cop shoot at Asian people? It's uncomfortable because we don't really know and have experienced something that they have experienced. So the best way is to get educated and kind of go about it that way, because you can't, like Isaac said, you can't just jump in that hoorah, ha, because it's kind of disrespectful to do that, because you haven't really experienced what they experienced. So best, like, I feel like that's the best way. Just get educated and just let your friends, family that you got that are Black know that we know this is wrong. I'm speaking up about it, and I'll stand with you.
Mine, Marty, a couple of things. Culturally, as a nation, we're conservative, right? So people are not used to voicing their opinions. The second thing is the mindset for Filipinos really is they think sports and politics can't be mixed and matched. But the reality is, there's from as early as the 40s and the 50s, they've a lot of activists have used sports as a platform to voice out their opinion. And I think with everything that's been going around, that's only been the good thing that has really stood out during this ordeal. Because like players like Simon and Isaac, they're really voicing their opinion using their social media platform as a very, very good tool, right? Rather than just sitting back and just scrolling through everything. You know what I mean? And the good thing is this new age, I want to call the millennials, this group is resilient. They're really, really, that's the good thing, because they're vocal. They're not just, keyboard warriors. They really, they're really going out. They're taking it to the streets. And if you notice this new generation for the NBA, all 50 states, man, all of the players from all those states have gone out. They've already, they brought their megaphone with them, and they shared with the youth, what they stand for, and that's a great thing, right? And hopefully now with everything that's been going on, even here in our country, the older generation hopefully could look at this as an eye-opener. Because back then, whenever a player would voice out their opinion, they would say, "Hey, just shut up and dribble." Really, it happens here in the Philippines a lot, man. And a lot of the older generation would say, "Hey, just stick to being a player for whatever team, and you're getting paid so much money, so you don't need to share your opinion." But now, with the younger generation, they're used to it. They're not just sitting down and just listening to whatever their supervisor or their boss is telling them. So hopefully, it continues, and in the next few weeks, things start to become better. But if there's one thing that needs to be constant, is for guys to continue to share their voice.
We'll end it on that, and hopefully, you guys keep doing what you're doing and stay safe, guys.
Thanks for having us, Marty.
We appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate you having us.
Sniffing your papers. Why you did that? Why you did that?
Can you follow me back on Instagram?
Yeah, I don't run it.
Huh?
I don't run it.
You don't?